105.
So why is it 185 in the art scroll? Bigger print?
I guess so.
It's
Smaller book. Yeah, no, there's no difference. Okay, welcome to chapter 85, Kapitel Pei Hey. After a long hiatus, Baruch Hashem, we're back. The truth is, thinking about how far we've gotten is pretty impressive. It's not like we did 10 chapters in a class. We did one chapter a class, started well over 3 years ago, and we're up to chapter 85. We're well past halfway. Okay, so as we usually do, we're going to go through it once with a basic translation, and then we'll come back and learn it properly together to have a better understanding. So chapter 85, Lam Natseach Livnei Kerech Mizmar, a psalm by the sons of Korach, Mizmar, for the conductor, a psalm by the sons of Korach, Mizmar a psalm. Rotzisa Hashem Artzecha. Hashem, you favor, you want, Artzecha, your land, Shavta, and you have returned, Shvis Yaakov, the captives of Yaakov. Nasasa Avain Amecha, you forgave the iniquities, the sins of your nation. Kisisa kol chatasam sela, and you have covered all their sins. Sela. Asafta kol evrasecha, you gathered in probably, but gathered your wrath. Hashivaisa mecharein apecha, and you returned from anger. Charein af is anger. It's a descriptive anger. You know that it's when you want to draw a picture of somebody that's angry, what do you have? Nostrils that are, it's biblical. Charein af is the nose. This is where it comes from. That anger comes with turned up nostrils. Shuveinu elikei yishenu, return Hashem our salvation. And take away your anger from upon us. Are you forever going to be angry with us? Is your anger going to go from generation to generation? For are you not going to return us and give us life? And the nation will rejoice within you. Hashem, show us your kindness, and your deliverance. Titan lanu, give to us. Eshma ma'idaber okel, we will listen, we will hear, or I will hear what God will speak to me. Hashem ki yidaber shalom, Hashem speaks peace, el amai, to his nation, vel chasidov, and to his pious ones, val yashuvu lechisla, and they'll never go back to Kisla, which is negativity, or how does he translate it? To folly, to wrongdoings. For you are close to the fearful ones, people that have fear of God or awe of God. Yishai, your salvation. Lishkoin kaved be'artzenu, to dwell glorious in His land. Chesed ve'emes nifgashu. Kindness and truth got together, met. Tzedek, righteousness, v'shalom, and peace, nashaku, kissed. Emes me'eretz titzmach, truth will grow forth from the land. V'tzedek, and righteousness, mishamayim nishkaf, will be seen from heaven. Seen from heaven. Gam Hashem yitin atayv, Hashem will also give the goodness. V'artzeinu titin yivula, and our land will give the proper produce. Tzedek lefanav yihalech, righteousness will go forth from in front of him. The yosem lederech b'amav, and it will give his footsteps a proper path. Okay, so this is a basic translation of the words, but it leaves a lot to be desired. What's the kapitel coming to tell us? What's going on over here in this kapitel? So, if you remember, we're in the middle of, or the end of, a bunch of chapters that start with about Livnei Korach, right? So this is brought down by many of the commentaries, primarily the Meiri, the Even Ezra, that says that this chapter, as well as the previous chapters that we've talked about already, are referring to prophecy that the sons of Korach, right? So Korach is with Moshe Rabbeinu in the desert, right? The sons of Korach that was swallowed, but then came out of the earth, etc. So they prophesied different things. This is one of their prophecies. This is one of the commentaries of. There's others. If you remember, we talked about that there was someone called Bnei Korach in the times of the temple that was a Levi that sung this in the temple. But what is it all about? So the Sforno says that it's a prayer about the future redemption, the redemption that we're all waiting for, the Geula Hasida, the final redemption, the time of the third temple. Interestingly, the Radak brings that opinion as a second opinion, but his first opinion, the Radak says that it's referring to the Babylonian exile. He says some say it's referring to the Babylonian exile, and some say it's referring to the Geula Hasida, the final redemption. But the Radak actually interestingly says that he splits this chapter into three parts, and he says that the first four psukim, the first four verses, Aleph through Daled, is a prophecy of the time of the Geula, of the redemption. The verses Hey through Ches, Vav, 5 through 8, is a prayer of the people in exile about Geula, asking for redemption. So again, the beginning is a prophecy about redemption, then it's a prayer form of redemption, asking for redemption, and then the end is where Hashem basically hears the prayer and guarantees a Geula, guarantees a redemption for the Jewish people. It's interesting also the way the Radak splits it. If you look at the Pesukim, it fits very well in the way it's brought forward. Okay, so let's go through it again. Actually, we'll read the few lines on the top in English. In this prayer, lamenting the long and bitter exile, the psalmist asks why this exile is longer than the previous ones and implores Hashem to quickly fulfill his promise to redeem us. Every individual shall offer this psalm when in distress. So it's interesting because on the one hand, he introduces the psalm saying that it's a very general thing, a general idea of Jewish people when they're in galus, when they're in exile, and on the other hand, he says that it is something that we could even use for a personal time of distress, that we should also be able to use this psalm for that as well. At a time that we're in right now, where global something that's really bigger than us, right? All the Jewish people are dealing with a situation that we need Mashiach, and personally, we all feel personally connected to it. So it's actually apropos to learn the psalm today. It should bring success. There's rumors that there's something going on tonight in Eretz Yisrael. It should be successful, and they should be able to see it through to the end. So pasuk Aleph Lamatzeach Livnei Kerech Mizmar for the conductor. Bnei Kerech, we already talked about who this Bnei Kerech, right? That either it's from the times of Moshe Rabbeinu that they said in the former prophecy, or it's a Levi that sang that his name was Ben Korach or Korach, or his father was Korach and he was the son of Korach, and he sang this psalm in the temple. Which in general, all these psalms were sung by Leviim. Many of these psalms were sung by Leviim in the temple during different points. Today, we say Tehillim in davening, different chapters of Tehillim, right? Some of them were, we say specifically because they were sung in the temple. Famously, the Shir Shal Yom, the song of the day that we say, right? What do we say? Hayom Yom Rishon b'Shabbos. Today is the first day of Shabbos. Shabbat Yehoya Avim Aimrim b'Beis Hamikdash. That the Levites would say in the Beis Hamikdash. What? And then we say a psalm, right? So for every day of the week, there's a psalm. For every Yom Tov, there's a psalm. We don't do it as much as the Sfardim do it. The Sfardim have a different capital that they sing that they say for every Yom Tov in Shul, and that's connected to that Yom Tov specifically. We do it for Shabbos. If you look at the Ma'ariv, at the end of Ma'ariv, we say capital Tehillim there. So yeah, that's so in general, that's the general idea of Tehillim. Okay, so pasuk number 2. Ratzisa Hashem Artzecha Shavto Shvis Yaakov. So Hashem, you favored the land Eretz Yisrael, right, and brought back Shvis Yaakov, the captives of Yaakov, of Jacob. So
you say shaven. You brought back shaven. Yeah.
Because it would be spelled with a test, not with a tough. Yeah. But don't take it away. Meaning there's something to it. There's something to it. And what's the obvious question in this pasuk? I guess not so obvious. Why Yaakov? Why Yaakov? Right, we have to get back into it. Why Yaakov? Who was Yaakov? Right? Shafta Shvis, Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael, Yehudim, Jews. Like, what do we do? Why Yaakov? Right. So that's the first thing that popped out when I looked at this pasuk. Why mention the name Yaakov? So Baruch Hashem, this commentator talk about it. So according to the Metzudas, that it's talking about that it's talking about the Geula Asid, the final redemption. So he says, Shavta, in the past, you returned the captives of that were in Babylonia, etc., etc. So with Mashiach also, and today maybe we could even talk about the captives that are sitting in Gaza, right? Shavta Shvis Yaakov. Though if you've done it for us in the past, Shavta, you've done it for the past, you should do it again, and that's the form of prayer that we're saying over here, according to the Metzudas. Al-Sheikh similarly says that you return the Yidden to Eretz Yisrael, even though they weren't so worthy, and therefore he refers to them as Yaakov and not as Yisrael. And in the Mamlayas, he says he brings that same idea down. And he says, why Yaakov and not Yisrael? Because they were redeemed in the merit of Yaakov, not in their own merit. So therefore, Yaakov is mentioned over here. Shavta Shvis Yaakov, they were redeemed not necessarily because of their own merit, which is also for a prayer that even if we're not meritorious, even though if we might not deserve 1,000% to go out of our exile, but just like you've done in the past when we weren't so deserving, should do it again now also if we're not there yet, if we're not 100% deserving, in the merit of our forefathers, in the merit of our forefathers. Yeah, and that's why it's meant. That's why Yaakov is mentioned over here. And what happened then? You forgave the sins or the iniquities of your nation, right? Nasasa literally means you carried over. You know when an accountant says, just move this over here, right? Nasasa, he moved it. It's gone. All a miracle happened. It's gone, right? But that's the Hebrew word over here. Nasasa, you moved it along. You moved the iniquities of the nation in the past, right? So you can look it over. You could overlook it now as well. You covered over all their iniquities. So do it again. So the Sforno, it's interesting because the Sforno here for different parts, he wants to say that we're referring to a specific time in history that this happened. For different psukim, he brings different parts of history. He says, can't be that you're asking 3 times the same thing. Please, annul the iniquities, right? Yeah. So the Sforno says that over here he's referring to the story of the Megillah, right? What was the story of the Megillah? The story of the Megillah was, where was the problem before the story? No, but in Babylonia, what did the Jews do wrong? Famously, is that they went to that Achashverosh invited them to this elaborate meal, and they went, and they shouldn't have gone. Right? Mordechai even warned them maybe not to go. They shouldn't have gone, and they went. And this was something that Hashem was not happy with. Also, they bowed down to the Tehillim of Nebuchadnezzar, and these were issues that they had. So the Sforno says but what happened? Peil Mamash, Hashem saved them. Haman came around and tried to destroy them. Hashem came and said, no, this is my nation. I'm going to save them, right? Even though he had a little bit of a problem with so the same thing. So the Sforno says that's what the pasuk is referring to. That if you were able to pass along over there, so you should do it again.
So Purim happened pre-Pesach?
In the calendar, yeah. No, Purim. Much after, much after. Pesach is the birth of the Jewish people going out of Egypt, right. And it's biblical, yeah. Right? Purim is 2,000 years ago.
So
yeah.
If this is referring to Purim, what are the other two? Shivitza, Yaakov, and Kisita, Koch. What are they referring to? You just said it's 3 different.
So this Sforno only brings it for this one and for the next one, for the next pasuk. We'll get it. No, Safta Kolev Rasecha. Next pasuk, Dalet. Yeah. So let's go into Dalet. Pasuk Dalet. The Safta Kolev Rasecha. You gathered in Like anger is something that you push out. So what does it mean to gather in? It means you held yourself back, right? Asafta, you gathered in all your anger, and Heshivaisan, you returned or turned away from the Charein Apecha, from the strong anger, from the nose smoke, the smoking nose anger, right? Charein Apecha. So the Mitzvah says that this is referring to the time of the Assyrian Greeks and the Chashmonaim, the story of Hanukkah. The story of Hanukkah. Where also there was it was only a handful, or a little bit more than a handful, that when the Chashmonaim said Mila Shem Elai, we're ready to put the to go forward on Hashem's behalf, so to speak. It's interesting. I saw in the Medish in Mamleis, if you look at Pasuk Dalid, the last three words, Heshivaisa Mecharein Apecha. What's the first letter? What's the Rashi Teves of those three words? It's Hey, Mem, and Aleph. If you switch them around a little bit, you get the word Meya. You get the word 100. So David HaMelech said, and it's not this is something David HaMelech instituted, and it's something that he was very well aware of, that if you say 100 brachas a day, the English saying is an apple a day keeps the doctor away. The Jewish saying is 100 brachas a day keeps Hashem's anger away, right? Meya takes away Heshivaisa Mecharein Apecha. And there's a story that by David where people were dying every day, etc. And then David HaMelech instituted that everybody should be careful about making 100 brachas a day. And today, by the way, it's a very standard thing in halacha to make 100 brachas a day. I mean, it's very easy if you make a very simple calculation of 19 brachas in every Shemona Esrei. You do 3 Shemona Esreis a day. There's other brachas that you make before Shema and after Shema. And then if you're going to eat 3 meals and you can make a bracha on the food, you're easily at 100. The problem is Shabbos, because Shabbos you don't have 19 brachas in Shemona Esrei. And there's some people that have the custom of making sure that they add brachas on food in different spots. So, for example, by the Sfardim, I know some Sfardim that do this, that before they wash for challah by the meal, they'll make sure to have some snacks that they make all the different brachas. They'll have a snack that's a mezainis, a snack that's a ha'etz, a snack that's a ha'adama, a snack that's a shahakal. And there you go, you have a few extra brachas to add to your 100. There are some people that are very careful to calculate their 100 brachas every day.
But for women, is that why they shop so much? Because they don't daven all the time, so they don't get their chance to make 80 of the 100 or whatever it is. But when you buy something new, you have to make a bracha, right?
A shachianu, but you're not allowed to do it during Sfira. You're not allowed to make a shachianu on new things during Sfira. It's actually, it was actually a conversation in the house. On Shabbos you don't make a shachianu on new things. And that's why during Sfira, if you, let's say, you needed to buy a new pair of pants or something like that. So we put it on Shabbos, and then Sunday it's already not new. Shabbos you can't make a shechianu, and Sunday it's already not new because you already wore it yesterday. So you're allowed to do that's because you can't make a shechianu on Shabbos.
They buy it on Monday, they try it on, make their.
That's a big discussion. Halacha. Also today, like you're saying, it's so common you buy new things. Back in the day, it was how often did someone buy a shirt, right? How often did someone buy once every 6-7 years, so it's a big deal if they bought a new shirt. So for better or for worse, we definitely don't look at it the same way today. Yeah. Okay, pasuk number 5. Shuveno elikei yishenu v'hafer kascha imanu. Return. Right? Return us. Shuvenu. Return us. Who should return us? Elikei Yishenu, God of our deliverance. So what does it mean, God of our deliverance? So first of all, the Mitzvah says, just like you returned Jews in previous exiles and took away your anger, so do it again now. So it's a simple continuation of the psukim that we had until now. Just like you did until now, we should do it again for the final redemption. Another theme that we have very often in Tehillim, that we've mentioned many times in Tehillim, and this is brought out again over here, and the Adak highlights it. He says, Shuvenu, return us, but who? Elikei Yishenu. We're not relying on anybody else. By the way, think about it today. As much as we think we could rely on anybody, there's nobody to rely on. Just today, the news of that this whole fiasco of Hamas declaring a success, that they agreed to some sort of the news came out that it was officially Egypt and whatever. Comes out now that it was the Americans. It was the Americans. And they were behind the whole thing, and it's a disaster, a PR disaster for Israel. And I don't think it's more than a PR disaster, but it's still, even a PR disaster is a disaster. And this whole thing came from our friends, which means that who do we rely on? Who should we rely on? As the pasuk over here says, we have to rely on Hashem Shavenu, Elikei Yishenu. The only one that David HaMelech ever relied on was Hashem, and that's a theme that we definitely have throughout Tehillim, and we have it over here again. The Alshich says, Shuvenu, return us. Shuvenu, return us. That we might be stuck, and we might not realize that we should turn around and return ourselves. Turn around, do tshuva, do the proper thing, and try to, whatever. We live in the world, and but we really want. So Shuvenu, Hashem, do it for us. Help us out. Turn us around. Give us that inspiration that we need in order to turn around. It's very cute, very nice, typical of the Alshich to learn the pasuk like that. And the Medrash also similarly says that the Yidden are telling Hashem that what's stopping us from doing tshuva? The Galus is stopping us from doing tshuva. The hardships of Galus. It's not easy out there. I gotta be out there, and it's not an easy time, and anti-Semitism, and all the craziness is going on in the world. Bring Mashiach, don't worry. At that point, we're all with you. We know that it's coming from you. So now we have a little bit of hardship. So help us out to get to there, and everything will be smooth from there. Meaning, what's holding us back is not that we don't want it. What's holding us back is the Gullus. So make the Gullus go away, and then everything will be rolling. Yeah. So the Mamleis ends off over there that Geula and Tshuva will come together. Bring the redemption, and then the Tshuva will come automatically. Everybody can you imagine if we saw revealed godliness, we wouldn't do Tshuva. We would do Tshuva in a second, right? I would do Tshuva in a second. So Hashem should reveal himself, should bring the Geula, and then we won't have any of this. We won't have any of these issues. Okay, Pasuk 6. This is a very powerful pasuk. It's an emotional pasuk. It's a very sad pasuk. But Hashem, are you forever going to be angry with us? So, what's the answer? No. So there's two ways you could learn it. It's like it's going on for so long. Hashem, it's going on for so long. Are you going to be doing this forever? Or you can learn it, Hashem, you're anyways not going to do it forever, so stop it now. Right? Two ways you can learn the same exact pasuk. Either in extreme negativity, so to speak, like in a harsh, truthful a place of pain that Hashem is going on for so long. How long is this going to go on for? Is this going to go on forever? Like in a question mark? Or no, it's answering its own question. Is this going to go on forever? No, so stop it now. Yeah.
I just want to ask, because we say no, it won't go on forever.
Right.
But the tone in which this is written is that the person who writes this is feeling that it is going on forever.
So that's one way to learn it. Right. I agree. That's one way to learn it.
He feels like there is no end to the misery. There is no end to, we need you now. You're angry.
So, but what's the other side? What's the other side of the same pasuk? The Alshich brings this. The Alshich says it beautifully. He says, God, it's not your style to be angry with us forever. Right? Look at history. Look at the story of Purim. Look at the story of Hanukkah. Look at many. Hashem sometimes got angry with us. Not that we could pinpoint it, because we're not prophecy. We're not prophets, and we can't say this is what it is and this is what it isn't, right? But still, there were prophets over the ages that have gave us insight into these kinds of things. But it doesn't go on forever. It's not your style that you be angry with us forever. If it's not your style, it's going to go on forever. And not only that, the Alshich continues. What does the rest of the pasuk say? You're going to stretch your anger from generation to generation? No. Why? Because in the pasuk in the Torah, it only says for one person or for one nation that Hashem will be angry for generation to generation. It's Amalek, the real anti-Semite. right? That person or that nation, Hashem says l'dar v'dar, for generation to generation, is that's it. But nobody else. So you're not going to do that. So stop it already now. It will be clearer when we get to the next pasuk. But just before we go to the next pasuk, Mamleis also brings down on this pasuk, on pasuk Vav, says other exiles came upon us for much more serious crimes, or iniquities, or sins, or problems that were going on with the Jewish people, and they only lasted a couple of years, tens of years, 100 years, whatever. It's like didn't last for that long, right? Here, what was the big problem with the Jewish people for the exile that we're in now? Basil's hatred, sinas chinam. I mean, it's terrible, but it's not as bad as some of the other stuff that was going on beforehand, right? So, how long are you already going to be angry with us? That's the Mamle brings that up. And then the next pasuk 7, haloi ata tashut chayenu. For you're anyways going to come and give us life, so to speak. You're going to come back and revive us. Techayenu, give us life. You're going to revive us, right? And then and the nation will, and the Jewish nation will find joy within you. So, as Rashi says, in the end, you'll do like you guaranteed to the prophets. You guaranteed that you're going to bring salvation to the Jewish people, that you're going to bring Mashiach. You're guaranteed that there's going to be a time of Mashiach. The neighbor is drilling. Yeah. The amount of drilling that this guy did next door, I don't know what's going on over there, but it's a lot of drilling. Okay. So in the end, you're anyways going to do like you guaranteed to the prophets, and you're going to bring Mashiach, and you bring redemption, you're going to bring the Geula, right? You're going to do what you promised. And Haloi Ata Tashuv, the Radak also again mentions over here, you're going to do it, meaning we can't rely on anybody else. It's going to come from Hashem. It's going to come through you, nobody else. And then the Jews will rejoice. The Jews will rejoice in you, because at that point, there'll be no Yetzer Hara. When Mashiach comes, there'll be no Yetzer Hara, so we'll have a better understanding, a clearer understanding, a perfect view of what godliness is all about. And therefore, we're going to rejoice and bask in the spirituality in Hashem. The Mamleis also mentions that that this pasuk is also a hint to Tchias HaMesim, to the resurrection of the dead when Mashiach comes. This is what the pasuk say: "Out of tashuv techayenu, you will bring us back to life," or revive us is the translation that he uses here. But it's the idea of bringing back to life.
Spiritually back to life.
So
Back to life. Or just the energy, or turns to Israel.
All of the above. That's what I'm saying. Depending on the commentary, Mamleis says it's a remez, it's a hint to Tchias HaMesim. Yeah. Okay, pasuk 8. Pasuk Hayenu. So again, pasuk 6 says, "Halaylam, are you forever going to be angry with us? You're going to pasuk 7 says you're going to revive us, and that's when we're going to rejoice in you." So Ches, pasuk 8, so show us your kindness already now, via Shachan, your salvation. Titan lanu, give us already your salvation. Right? So that's even if we're not worthy, Chesed, kindness is something that even if we're not worthy, right? If it comes to us, so then it's not a kindness, then it's something that we're owed. So that's he says, even if we're not worthy, show us your kindness. Hashem is known for showing us his kindness. Yitzchak Berditchev says over here, and this is a very important idea in Hasidic philosophy, that we know that everything that comes from Hashem is good, right? So what are we complaining about? If everything that comes from Hashem is good, why are we complaining about exile? Why are we complaining? Everything's good. It's coming from Hashem. Why I should complain? Right? So in general, we should have that attitude for ourselves. Never say it about somebody else. Never say, what are you complaining about? It's coming from God. We never say that. When it comes to somebody else, we should, on the contrary, we should feel terrible. We should cry for somebody else. We should feel bad for somebody else. But you're going through, if I'm going through a hard time, okay, so it comes from Hashem. Hashem wants me to go through the hard time. I'll get through it. There's obviously a reason that Hashem wants us to go. But Levi Tzvardisha says, what does this pasuk add to that? says, Hareinu nachazdecha, but Hashem, yes, we know that everything that comes from you is good, but let us see the goodness in it. Don't hide the goodness. Hareinu, show us how it's good. Don't just let us rely on the fact that since it comes from Hashem, it's good. This is a chassidus on this passage. Very, very important, very powerful statement. The Rebbe, when I've said this many times, the Rebbe, when he would give a bracha, very often the Rebbe would use the words that it should be betoiv, it should be in good, but good, obviously everything comes from Hashem. Nira v'anigla, that's seen and revealed, meaning not just goodness, it should be revealed goodness. Now we know that very often, hopefully we know that even if we go through something and in the moment we don't understand and we think that it's bad, sometimes later we come back and we say, hold on a second, that was an amazing, that experience got me here, or that experience helped me with something, and it ends up being from a negative experience to a positive experience, right? We know that happens. So if we know that it happens sometimes, we should also recognize that it happens all the time. It's just that we don't necessarily see the end of it, where the goodness is, and that's where this pasuk comes in, asking that we should be able to see, and that the goodness should be something revealed. Pasuk 9, pasuk tes. Eshma ma'idabel okel. Hashem ki daber shalom elamai. I want to hear what Hashem says. He speaks peace to his nation, ve'el chasidav, and to his pious ones. So his nation and his pious ones. What's the two different things? And ve'al yeshivu l'chisla, and they will not turn back to. Before I go to pasuk 9, sorry, the Mamleis brings an analogy from the Dubna Magid. So we have pasuk 6, 7, and 8. Right? Pasuk 6, 7, and 8 says, Hashem, are you always going to be so angry? You're not going to be so angry, right? You're going to come and revive us eventually. So show us the goodness already now. So Dubna Magid gives a mashal, and the mashal is of two mechutanim. You know what a mechutan is? Yeah. Right? An in-law, two in-laws. Right? So the parents of the bride and the groom. So they were fighting. They were fighting for a few months about the wedding. Each one wanted this and each one wanted that, and then and it's literally 10 minutes to the chuppah, and someone comes over to both of them and says, listen, at the end of the day, in 20 minutes, you're both going to be on the dance floor and you're going to have to smile at each other. Make up now already. Be good already now. Man, whatever, you argue about this. Leave that all in the back and let's move along. So the Maggid says the same thing. Hashem, you're gonna come back and revive it. You're gonna do it already now. What are you waiting for? Okay, amen. Okay, pasuk tes. Rashi says that pasuk tes is saying that I want to merit hearing Hashem talk peace to his nation, talk shalom to his nation. And that's El Amoy to his nation. But then the next word is Ve'el Chasidav to his pious ones. Who's the pious ones?
Pious ones are tzaddikim, I guess.
Okay, that's one way to learn it. That's a basic way to
innocent children.
No, so the Radak says these are non-Jews that are pious, right? Amoy, who's his nation? It's the Jewish people. That's to the exclusion of everybody else. But Ve'el Chasidov says, no, you don't have to be Jewish to be pious. You don't have to, right? There's in Yad Vashem, they have a whole section called Chasidei Umas Eilam, the righteous Gentiles, right? And we're not even talking about that kind of extreme righteousness, someone that helped in the Holocaust. Wow, that's amazing. That's a real righteous person. But even a regular righteous person, a good person, a person that that was good in his life. So that's also referring to him as well. The Alshich says, though, the peace over here is talking about that Hashem is going to bring peace between body and soul. What's peace between body and soul? My body wants one thing, my soul wants sometimes something else, right? Sometimes they're not in sync. I shouldn't say sometimes, very often they're not in sync. my soul wants to learn Torah the whole day, and my body wants to sleep and wants to eat and wants to have a good time, right? So when Mashiach comes, Hashem is going to bring peace between body and soul. They're both going to want. When the body recognizes that the ultimate is Torah study, or the ultimate is to have a relationship with God, there's going to be no other choice. That's what it's going to be, right? And then there'll be peace between body and soul. So the Alshich brings here in the pasuk. And Mamleis says peace. What's peace? What's the ultimate peace? The Garzevim Keves. that a wolf will lie with a lamb, right? The famous prophecy from Isaiah, at the time of Mashiach, and that is the ultimate peace, the ultimate time of the redemption. Pasuk Yud, pasuk number 10. Hashem, Rashi says that the pasuk over here is saying, Hashem, it's something close for and easy for you to do. But God, Karev, it's so close to you, something easy for you to do, right? The Almighty God, it's something that you could do so easily. To bring honor, etc., to the land. By the way, when he brings the word Yereyov, and in the translation it talks about those who fear God, fear of God. We talked about this many times. We mean awe of God, which is fear is I mean, it's the right translation. It's just that it has the wrong connotation sometimes. Yeah.
Could it also mean that we're afraid of upsetting God?
Why?
Because we don't want to do anything bad.
Why? Yeah.
Because he's so great.
Oh, that's awe. That's not fear, right?
Yes, right.
That's my point, right? If your answer would have been something different, say, I'm afraid of doing something wrong because he's gonna strike me with lightning.
That's fear of God.
That's fear. That's regular Monday. That's fear of a lion, fear of a lightning. So what's the difference, right? Oh, but if the fear is because I'm just like you have awe of, you have on reverence to somebody, so you therefore you're afraid to do the wrong thing in their presence. Yeah, right. That's the approach we're supposed to have in a shul. That's the approach that we're supposed to have with a rebbe. That's the approach we're supposed to have with our parents. That's the approach, right? It's not fear that I'm gonna get slapped by my father. It's awe that that I don't want to do the wrong thing in front of my father. Reverence and respect, exactly. And it could be and for many others, right? And for sure, that's the analogy to understand our relation, that the proper relationship with Hashem. And it comes from a place of love, really, ultimately, right? That idea of fear comes from a place of love. And that's the highest level of merging love and fear together in your relationship with Hashem. And the Kabbalah, the way it talks about it, is like the ultimate, the highest level of relationship with Hashem, mixing those two together.
When you love, you want to do good, you want to please, you want to
Right.
listen, you respect, that kind of thing.
Right.
If you don't have any love, you have nothing for it, it's hard to.
But even in regular relationships, if there's only love and no awe, even between spouses, if husband and wife have only love and no awe, it will never last. Love is too much. It's too much to handle. If there's a proper barrier, there's a step back of awe, and you're in awe of your spouse also. Yeah, of course I love my spouse, but there's also that and there's the push and pull of that. That's yeah. Okay. So it's interesting because the Metzudah says that it's something easy for Hashem to do, so please do it. The Radak says that if only everybody was in such awe of Hashem, so then it would be easy. Hashem would do it right away. It's two very opposite styles of the same pasuk. The end of the pasuk says Lishken Kavid Bartzenu, to bring honor to the land. So Mamleis brings up that I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a big difference between the first temple and the second temple in the level of holiness. There were certain things that were missing in the second temple, certain like the Aron, etc., that were hidden away. So here he's asking that it should be the honor, it should be the level of the first temple, the holiness should be in the third temple, the level of the first temple, not of the second temple. Okay, pasuk Yud Aleph, pasuk 11, Chesed ve'emes nifgashu, kindness and truth met, tzedek v'shalom nashaku, and righteousness and peace kissed. They also came
I just
together.
have one question, because there's a different translation here, which I like. Tzedek, justice, not righteousness.
Oh yeah, okay, it's true. Yeah, it's both, but yes, it's and different commentaries bring it up. Absolutely. How does he translate it over here? Yeah, over here he uses righteousness, but yeah, no, there's commentators that use justice.
This one, justice.
Yeah. So Rashi translates the pasuk that the Jewish people will talk truth, will talk emes, right? Emes, and then there'll be kindness from above. If you do things in an emes way down here, chesed, kindness will be showered on you from above. Yeah, that's simple shot. And also, if you do things in a proper tzedek way, in a righteous way, so it will mix together with peace that comes from Hashem. That's why Rashi learns this pasuk. The Mitzvah also says similarly, but he also says that they're dependent on one another. That you can't have chesed if you don't have emes. If the only way you could draw down kindness from above is through having emes down here. Sfarnu says that the emes that it says over here, chesed ve'emes, kindness only comes through emes of Torah. What's the ultimate truth? The ultimate truth is amitas shel Torah. There's only one thing that's really true in this world. That's Torah. Nothing else. Everything else may be partially true, a little bit true, could be true. We don't know yet if it's true, but Torah is true. Torah is true, and that's. And when you delve in to Torah's emes, right? We say it in the bracha, Torah's emes, right? Torah's emes. When we delve into Torah, which is truth, so then you'll find in there the kindness from above. There's a medrash. I was debating to bring it up, but we have a little bit of extra time. So there's a medrash that says that when Hashem created the world, emes. It's a longer medrash. I'm just going to bring part of it. Emes came to Hashem and said, "We're going to create a world. It's a false world. It's a falsche Welt in Yiddish, we say. It's a very powerful line because the truth is, it's really look at what goes on in the media today. It's not a falsche Welt, where people could be convinced about something that's totally crazy." And they could get young kids to go on a campus and I saw a picture today. There was some campus in the U.S. where a bunch of regular American girls bowing down on a mat like as if they were in a mosque. To convince them to do that is a false revolt. Elam shel sheker. Surprised? No. Shocked? No. It's a false world, and people could be convinced of crazy. Okay. So Emes says, don't create the world. Don't create the world. The world is going to be, it's a disaster if you're going to create the world. Comes Chesed and says, yeah, but that one time the guy does a kindness. For that, it's all worth it. Obviously, not the one time. The main thing is it does a kindness. How much kind things happen, how much kind things I did, how many kind things you did, and how many kind things you did. Just for that, okay. So yeah, there's a lot of problems in the world, but at least there's also good and there's kindness. So kindness saying gibore that that the world should be created. And then tzedek and shalom also come and argue, and it says over there that Hashem stood up, took emes, took truth, threw it to the ground, and created the world. It's a funny medrash. What does it mean? Either create the world, don't create the world. Throwing emes, throwing truth to the ground. What's the idea of throwing truth to the ground? So the Alter Rebbe actually, and the Rebbe talks about this. The Alter Rebbe brings up that there's two types of truth. There's truth up above. There's emes above. That's the ultimate truth. We can't handle that truth. It was the movie that says you can't handle. Yeah, you want the truth, you can't handle the truth. It's such a powerful line because the truth. There's many things in the world that we wouldn't be able to handle the truth, right? And also on a spiritual level, we can't handle emes lamitase, emes, the true emes that's above. When Mashiach comes, we'll be able to handle it. The way the world is today in a falsche Welt, we can't handle it. So that's it. There's no truth. The real truth is up there, and we have no access to real truth. No, Hashem took truth, shattered it on the ground. I have a little bit of emes. You have a little bit of emes. You have a little bit of emes. Can you imagine if I understood truth? I wouldn't be able to get along with anybody. because I'm the only one that knows the true whatever, right? So one of the problems today in the world, it goes into the rest of the pasuk about shalom. My truth is the ultimate truth. How dare you argue with my truth? Comes this medrash and teaches us, you don't have the truth. Nobody's got the truth. You might have a little bit of the truth. Hashem shattered truth, so therefore I have a little bit, you have a little bit. Everybody's got a little bit of truth. That's what it is. Unless not in the evil, but theoretically, everybody has access to a little bit of emes, and that's so. The this pasuk is teaching us, and the medrash teaches us that since I have a little bit of truth, I should recognize that someone else also has an opinion, and their opinion also has a little bit of truth, or so maybe a little bit more truth than mine. I don't know, because we don't know the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth, well, no, Mashiach comes. But the ultimate truth, we don't know. We know a little bit of truth. We follow Torah, so we know Torah is the ultimate truth. So we have access to emes. But that's it. Never chas v'shalom for someone to say that I have all the truth and there's nobody else that has any truth. Chas v'shalom to say it, and that's what we learned from this medrash, which is loosely based on this pasuk.
This is why we continue studying.
100%, 100%. And the more we study, the more we realize that, hey, what I thought was true yesterday. Yeah. Pasuk 12, Pasuk Yudbeis. Emetz me'aretz titzmach. Truth will come forth, will sprout forth from the ground. V'tzedek mishmayim nishkaf. And because of that, there'll be kindness that will come from heaven. When truth is done on earth, when emetz is done on earth,
Justice.
And justice. Oh, sorry, tzedek. Yeah, justice or righteousness. Yeah, justice or righteousness will come from above. Yeah. What's righteousness? So all the commentaries translate this pasuk is that you get what you deserve, right? We're good. Okay, so there'll be rain in order for the produce to grow. If you're going to do mitzvahs, so therefore you're going to be rewarded for doing mitzvahs. And then tzedek, righteousness, because not chesed. You're right. In my head, I'm thinking chesed because earlier we said if we're not worthy, so at least do it from a perspective of kindness. Here it's talking about being worthy and deserving something, so therefore you're getting the right thing. Righteousness is the right thing. Showered from above. The Svarnu says. He says that it's referring to a whole other thing. It's referring to, he continues that because the Sforno mentions already on the previous pasuk, I mentioned that he says that emes is referring to amitasa shel Torah, the truth of Torah. So over here, he's saying that now this truth of Torah has to grow. Has to be taught to the next generation, has to be fed to the next generation. So the Sforno says that the truth of Torah should grow into more students. Emes me'aretz titzmach. Truth should sprout forward, just like students sprout forward, right? And then the righteousness by these tzaddikim should become revealed, and they'll be known above, they'll be known on high, nishkaf from above. So that's the Sforno's interpretation of these psukim. The cute word from the Baal Shem Tov over here. It says, emes me'aretz titzmach. The pasuk says that truth sprouts from the ground. Like a weed, or like if it sprouts from the ground, it's so accessible. If it's so accessible, so why don't so many people, why don't people access it? If emes, the pasuk is telling us, emes me'aretz titzmach. Emes sprouts from the ground, so it means like mushrooms. It comes everywhere. It's everywhere. It's so available. So Baal Shem Tov says it's so available. Why don't people access it? Right? It's like Tommy Schneermacher. I heard him say, I don't know if he's the author of this vart. He says common sense is not so common, right? So, Emes me'aretz titzmach. If it's so accessible, why aren't people accessing it? So this is Baal Shem Tov's question. What does Baal Shem Tov answer? It's be'eretz. It's sprouting forth on the ground. Nebuch, they have to bend down in order to access it. What does it mean bend down? You have to be a little humble. You have to be a little bit of humility. If you have humility, yeah, you can access truth. If it's all about me and my opinions and how I see things, etc., you'll never access truth. And that's why most people don't access truth. Baal Shem Tov says, the pasuk says it. Yeah, it's readily available. You just have to bend down. You have to make less of yourself. You have to be a little bit more humble, and then you can access it. And the Rebbe Marash, the fourth Chabad Rebbe, brings us down. I remember the story from Baal Shem Tov, and he says, and that's why you need to be humble in order to understand Torah, because Torah is truth. And if you're going to come with
Your false ideas.
with your ideas, you won't access the truth. If you want to access the truth of Torah, you have to come with humility. Pasuk Yud Gimel, Pasuk 13. Gam Hashem yitin atoiv. And Hashem will give the goodness. So this is a continuation from the previous pasuk that Hashem will give the goodness. What is that? So Rashi says that He'll open up the heavens and give rain, so that way the produce could come forth when we do the right thing. So Hashem will give rain, and we'll have what we need. It's an analogy for having parnasa, etc. Right? Back in the day, the parnasa was making sure they have produce coming out of your field. Today, it just translates in a little bit different way, but it's the same idea. Yeah. The Alshich says that it's referring to when Mashiach comes, it's going to be unique produce. The produce is going to be it's going to be gluskoi. It's going to be the produce that you look at now that needs so much work, etc. It's not going to need so much work. It's going to be sweet. Different things. Not that we know necessarily it's going to be when Mashiach comes, but there's different analogies that are used for that. So the Alshich says that that's what it's referring to. That we do the right thing now, Mashiach will come, and therefore we'll have the produce that was promised to us for when Mashiach comes. Pasuk, the final pasuk, pasuk 14, pasuk Yudalid, tzedek lefonav yihalech, v'yosam derech pamav. Philip, you remember this pasuk from Gemara Brachas? We'll end off with it. We'll end off this. This is a pasuk that we used in Gemara Brachas. But Rashi first says that Hashem will help, that His children will follow in His righteous footsteps. Tzedek, that someone that does the right thing. So not only will Hashem give rain, so to speak, for produce, the person will have parnasa, but also tzedek lefonav yahalech, that in front of him will go righteousness, meaning that his children will also follow in his footsteps. Mitzudis translates it quite differently, that tzedek, that wherever this person goes, righteousness will be in front of him. He'll always be able to recognize righteousness. And the Meiri says that it's referring to Mashiach, that he'll always have the awe of Hashem in front of him. It's also similar, this idea of tzedek, of righteousness in front of him. I don't remember the exact, it's in the beginning. I think it's Daf Daled, if I remember correctly.
What does it say? Tzedek lefanav yalech?
Yeah, so
Does it say v'yashem l'derech?
V'yasam l'derech pa'amav.
It says the whole thing.
I don't remember if the Gemara brings the whole pasuk, but it's referring to the whole pasuk. What does the Gemara in Bracha say? That a person should not do business before he davens. Tzedek lefanav yahalech. First do the right thing, first the righteous thing, first daven. And then there's different parts of the Gemara. The Gemara says, first of all, the person shouldn't go to the office, so to speak, before davening, right? To go to work before davening, he should daven, and then he should go to work, or daven before he starts working. That's the idea. Tzedek lefanav yahalech. And what does the pasuk say? V'yasem derech pamav. And then Hashem will do the work for him. Then he won't have to do the work. Hashem will do the work for him. If then there's another opinion also there in the Gemara that it's about travel, that a person shouldn't leave on a journey before davening. He should daven and then leave on his journey. He shouldn't say, "Oh, I have to leave at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever. I'm gonna go. I'll daven later." No, he should daven first and then go on his trip. It's also something brought down in the Gemara Brachas based on this pasuk. Now with this we finish chapter 85 of Tehillim.
Very nice.